let's go finally to the Peach Bowl. This game will be Saturday, December 30th at noon Eastern time from Atlanta. Penn State is a slight favorite, about 3.5 in that vicinity. Nothing's changed at the moment. As far as opt-outs and guys that aren't playing, tight end Theo Johnson is not going to be playing. Olu Fashanu will not be playing at left tackle, and they will be without their edge defender Chop Robinson. They also will be without Manny Diaz, who decided to leave as the defensive coordinator and become the head coach of Duke. And currently Ole Miss is going to be without Cedric Johnson, their defensive end. So Ole Miss, for the most part, intact. But really, when you look at what Penn State is, they're a really young team. So most of their guys should be back. Most of their guys should be up. And most of their guys should be playing in this one. Let's start with the Ole Miss Rebels. Their key player is Jackson Dart. He's going to be coming back. It's massive. They had a great offseason battle between him and Spencer Sanders, where Spencer Sanders came in, highly decorated player from Oklahoma State. They also brought in Walker Howard from LSU. They also, I think, were wondering, all right, what is going to happen with Jackson Dart? Will he be able to elevate? And he has. I think he's done a great job this season. He's certainly in the upper tier amongst the quarterbacks in the SEC. He's actually 11th nationally with a 161 passer rating. And Jordan Jaden Daniels is the only two quarterbacks in the SEC with more than 2,900 passing yards and more than 300 yards rushing. So he can do it not just through the air with his arm, but he can also do it with his legs. And most of those offensive weapons are back, including Quinshon Judkins, who we'll talk about in a minute. He'll have plenty of talent at his disposal on the perimeter. The X factor in this game is going to be Quinshon Judkins. Now, if you look at what Quinshon Judkins did this year, it's going to be a little underwhelming based on preseason expectations, based on what he did as a true freshman in 22. But he was banged up most of the first half of the year. Rib injuries, didn't run with the same level of intensity, but he did get better as the season went along. So it's going to be massive, I think, for Ole Miss to be able to get him involved, run the football. I know it's not going to be easy to run it against Penn State, but Michigan did find a way to victory by exclusively running the football. I don't think Ole Miss has the same type of offensive line as the Michigan Wolverines have, but I do think that the way that you can attack this defense is by taking the air out of the football. You have to run it. You have to be physical. They're an elite pass rushing unit. They're an elite athletic unit, so they have to run the football, and they have to be able to create some issues, I think, for the Penn State defensive line, who's good, but they're more athletic than they are capable of holding up for 60 minutes against the run. If you look at Ole Miss, how do they win? Well, I think they're going to have to create great balance on offense. If you look at Penn State's defense, they held 9 of their 12 opponents to 15 or fewer points. That's pretty dang amazing. It really is. It's amazing. This is a ridiculously athletic group. So you're going to have Quinshon Judkins playing at his best to kind of limit the aggressiveness of the movement in games and the speed that this defensive front seven will play with. I also think it's going to be really important for Jackson Dart to keep plays alive with his legs. Might have to run around, might have to scramble some, and if he can, that could take some of the pressure off of this passing attack, because I don't think they match up great with their receivers against the Penn State secondary. And if you look at Penn State's numbers in rush defense, they give up just 2.16 yards per carry. That's third in the country. But I do think you're not going to hit a lot of big plays on them. They're going to be fast enough and athletic enough to recover. I think Lane Kiffin's smart enough to be able to create some misdirection, create some issues with those guys and take advantage of their aggressiveness, and maybe go the other way with some quarterback run stuff. So it's going to be fascinating, I think, to see how things go with Ole Miss in this game. And as for Penn State, the key player is Nick Singleton. Nick Singleton, he is a terrific football player. We know that. All right, we know that. But if you look at how things have gone for him this year, just 700 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, Quinshon Allen has actually eclipsed Singleton in a way, but I think in this game in particular, Singleton's speed is going to be very important. Now, Quinshon Allen, very, very fast as well. Really fast, but Singleton's speed and the big play potential of him is something that I'll be paying close attention to. If you look at Quinshon Allen, he's kind of a bully, man. He wants to run physical. He wants to run over guys. This is a dynamic 1-2 punch that really complements each other well, and they combined to average nearly 187 rushing yards per game. That's 24th in college football. So you look at that 1-2 punch in the offensive line, even though that Olu Fashanu's not going to be playing, they should be pretty good going up against an Ole Miss defense that gave up nearly 152 rushing yards per game. That's 67th in the country. They also got gashed by Georgia, 300 yards in a 52-17 rout there in the beginning of November. So that's going to be massive. It's also going to be huge to take a peek at Drew Allar in this game. Now, one thing that he has had trouble with, because, look, he's done a good job. He's been smart with the football, 23 touchdowns, has really been smart. Just one interception, right? You love the touchdown to interception ratio, but there is a little bit, I think he can be more aggressive. I'm not saying he needs to force the football, but he's got a ton of talent. I think he can make some throws that he passed up on. But in a bowl game, man, let it all fly. Mike Yurcich was fired after they lost to Michigan because the passing game was just 200 yards a game or so, 204 to be exact. That was 91st. They hadn't produced enough big plays, and Allar hasn't thrown for over 300 yards since the season opener against West Virginia. So they got to find some explosive plays through the air because that's going to complement the run game, which should probably have some success. You look at Keandre Lambert-Smith, you look at Tyler Warren. This defense gives up 220 passing yards a game. They're 60th nationally, so there should be some opportunities down the field in the event in which they are presented to Penn State. They have to limit Quinshon Judkins. That's the key. That is the key. They are so stout. They lead the country in total defense. They're third in rush defense. And those stout numbers have allowed them to really control the line of scrimmage. The one outlier in those performances was Blake Corum going for a $145 there when Michigan beat him 24-15. Outside of that, they played really well just about all the time. But Judkins, even though he missed some time, it wasn't really at his best this year. He came on and got much better as the season went along. So if Judkins can't create some big plays, I think it could be difficult for Ole Miss to manufacture a ton of offense in this game. And if the game's put exclusively on Jackson Dart's shoulders, I'm not sure that that's a path to victory for Ole Miss. I'm taking Penn State in the game. I think they're better on defense. I think they're a young team that's probably a little ticked off with how things have gone down the stretch and the perception of their program. And this would be a massive one for James Franklin as well. He has not fared well in games against top-tier competition. I believe Ole Miss is top tier, but I think Penn State gets done, and they'll take care of business there in Atlanta.